So with that being said, I had the chance to ask her if she would be willing to come and speak with our community because we are one sorority. So I was excited to see that she said yes to the request. A little bit about her. She is a mother. She is a wife. And for all you go green and white, she hails the blue and gold. So I am going to pass it over her because I don't want to delay this information we will hear. So, Sor Hagens, I will pass it on to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to first thank the Grand Rapids Alumni Chapter for having me on. I do not feel like we can get this message spread far and wide enough. And in Financial Fortitude Month, it's very important to get the message spread. One of the goals for Financial Fortitude Month is decreasing debt, and the other one is increasing wealth. And so today we're going to talk about student loan forgiveness so that if you qualify, and a lot of people qualify, you can decrease your debt. But in addition to that, as you have decreased your debt, you can increase your wealth and perhaps create some generational wealth so that your own kids or other students do not have debt in college. So let's get started. And I'm going to have a PowerPoint. I believe you can put questions in the Q&A as they come along. And we will get started. So first of all, we're going to do a disclaimer. Information is accurate as of today. As you may know from what you see in the news, this is changing every day. So this is based on currently available information, and the conditions in the programs may change. You, the borrower, are responsible for keeping up to date on the news and the changes in the programs and for filling out required documentation and forms for the program. You are also responsible for selecting repayment plans and consolidation decisions. The information I give you is only as good as the information you give me. And so I can give you back information, but I might miss something if I don't have accurate information. To find out what you need, you should contact the student loan servicer. Servicers are MOHELA, Advantage, Nelnet, things like that, or studentaid.gov before you make decisions. The presentation does not guarantee or make any promises that your loans will be forgiven. These are just tools that we're giving you. And this organization, Grand Rapids Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and myself, Kia Hagens, will not be held liable for the information presented because student loans are individual to each person. And so that is the first thing, our first thing first with Biggie in the corner. So today we're going to talk about the newest information, loan forgiveness versus loan discharge, public service loan forgiveness, income-driven repayment plan waiver, and you can throw in Q's and A's as we go along. Now, if you are not in public service, please stay on the call, on the webinar, because a lot of people are not in public service, but there are two plans that are out there right now. And the other one, which is income-driven repayment plan, may be something that will work for you. So in 2024, Biden has erased about $5.8 billion in federal loans. Things like in 2024, February 21st, if you had $12,000, that was knocked out. December 2023, the income-driven repayment plan, which is currently in effect, was extended to the end of this month, just 2 weeks away from now. September 1st, 2023, the COVID pause ended and student loans went back into repayment. So most people were on a loan repayment pause for about 3 years. April 2023, the program that I'm going to talk about today, the income-driven repayment plan waiver, was introduced. And October 31st, 2022 to October 6, 2021, there was a public service loan forgiveness waiver that was in place. Many of the aspects of that waiver carry over. So if you missed that deadline of October 31st, 2022, it was not too late. That the waiver aspects carried over. So we'll talk about that today. So there's loan forgiveness and there's loan discharge. And we're going to focus today on public service loan forgiveness and the income-driven repayment plan. There's also Perkins loans cancellation, teacher loan forgiveness, and then all of the discharges are listed below. If you are in public service and you're in education, first of all, I want to thank you for the service you give to our schools, and also let you know that the teacher loan forgiveness is a program that works, but it is capped at $17,500. So if you're in public service, you can get all of your loans forgiven through the public service loan forgiveness waiver. And Perkins loans are usually offered by your university. So when you go to your studentaid.gov account, and that's the keeper of all your information, you will see something like Grand Valley, you will see Western Michigan, you will see University of Michigan. Those are Perkins loans, and those are canceled under that debt. And these other ones, borrower's defense, a lot of people I've run into in this process have said, I'm going to do borrower's defense because they promised me that I'd have a good job and I don't have a good job. You have to read up on that because for the most part, it's not going to cover universities that are still open and still doing well. So closed school discharge, you might be at a campus that is closed, but if University of Phoenix is still open, that would disqualify you for that. Discharge due to death, obviously we don't want that one. Discharge in bankruptcy, false certification discharge, total and permanent disability discharge, and unpaid refund discharges. Those are all that are out there in terms of discharges, but we're going to focus once again on the first two. So this just tells you a little bit about Perkins loans. You may be eligible for Perkins loans cancellation, and it's based on set amounts. It's not going to cancel all of your debt in terms of your direct and your direct loans, consolidated, subsidized, or unsubsidized. Just a little bit more about Perkins loans discharge. And the teacher loan forgiveness program that I mentioned is $17,500. And you can qualify for the teacher loan forgiveness and the public service loan forgiveness, but with the waiver in place, I would recommend that you not spend your time on teacher loan, but spend your time on public service. And these are the other discharge programs that I mentioned. And this is going to be on the Facebook page and recorded. So if you want to go back and look at this information, you'll be able to see it as I'm moving pretty quickly so we can make sure to get all the information in. These are the second set of discharge programs. And so today we're going to focus on first the public service loan forgiveness and then the income-driven repayment plan forgiveness. So it works. It does work. This is a person that I help with their public service loan forgiveness, and they posted this on Facebook. I'm at about $9 million of success in helping people forgive loans. This one's very interesting because if you look at this top number, these were Parent Plus loans. You can get Parent Plus loans forgiven in addition to your loans. Parent Plus loans obviously have to be in your name, not in your child's names. So this $265,947.55 were Parent Plus loans. Because this person had $12,623.19 in their own loans, they were able to get all of their loans forgiven. So it definitely works. Moving forward, this is the historical perspective of the public service loan forgiveness plan. The program was introduced in October of 2007. The problem is when the program was introduced, there were a lot of steps and obstacles that were put in place that allowed for the government to say they were in the program, but didn't allow for people to get forgiveness. By the time the waiver was enacted in 2022, only about 10% of people ever made to the finish line. With this waiver, it has captured a lot of what I consider the gook so that people could now get to forgiveness. So in 2021, the waiver was enacted by President Joe Biden for adjustments to be in place. And so what happens? The basics are you have to make 120 qualifying payments. 120 qualifying payments is in quotes because a qualifying payment does not have to be an actual payment. With the original program, if you owe $200, you had to pay $200. You had to pay it on time. You had to pay the exact amount. Now, with the waiver in place, if you paid $150, counts as a payment. If you paid it late, counts as a payment. If your loans are in forbearance and you had the 2-year or 3-year COVID forbearance, those are going to count as payments under the waiver. Well, not after the waiver expires, but under the waiver, they'll count as payments. If your loans were in deferment prior to 2013, those will count as payments. You have to have qualifying direct federal loans. How do I know, Kia, if they're direct federal loans? If studentaid.gov does not have your information, it is not a direct federal loan. It might be a private loan. I mean, back in the day, you could get a loan from Discover. You might, Sally Mae, for the most part, is doing private loans now. So you have to see it in your studentaid.gov account. And this, I may say this later, but I'm going to say it now because it's on my mind. You have to have a direct loan. A lot of people have FFEL loans, FFEL. If you have a FFEL loan, it does not count. You can consolidate, and I'm going to walk you through that, to a direct loan, but you have to have a direct loan. You need to have direct subsidized or unsubsidized. You must be on an income-driven repayment plan. And an income-driven repayment plan, the best one right now is the SAVE plan. The SAVE plan, depending upon your income, you might be making $0 in payments, but they're still counting towards payment. And you have to have an eligible employer, and I'll walk you through an eligible employer. And that's based on the EIN number. Where do I get the EIN number, Kia? Your EIN number is on your W-2s. And your W-2s, it's probably, I think it's box B or C. It's at the top. It's like a two numbers dash and then additional numbers. That's when you find your EIN number. I'm going to show you a location when you can plug it in to see if your employer is eligible employer. Public schools, eligible employers. Nonprofits, eligible employers. I've even found through my research, the United States Postal Service is eligible employer. The military, Army, Navy are eligible employers. If it's for profit, it does not count. And if you've been outsourced, so I'm going to use Flint Public Schools. Flint Public Schools outsources their substitutes. They're paid through EduStaff. If you're paid and outsourced, but you work in the public schools, that unfortunately does not count as an eligible employer. You have to be full-time employed. They've lowered the number to 30 hours, so you have to be employed for 30 hours. So if you're an adjunct professor and you work at 2 universities, you can combine the 2. And the on-time payments, as I said, are older language. If you get this information in by the end of this month, then you will be okay for the waiver, which will mean that if your payments were late, it will not count against you. I see a couple questions in the chat. I'm going to pull them up before, oh, some of them are already answered. So I'm going to hold off on those because I think they are already answered, and then I will come back to them if they're not answered. So here are the qualifying payment plans. Revise, pay as you earn, income-based, income contingent, the 10-year standard plan. You do not want the standard plans. You want an income-driven repayment plan. And I want to remind you all that a lot of this is based on, for this program and the income-driven repayment plan program waiver, they're based on an IQ. And I know there's some IT, excuse me. I know there's some IT professionals out there. They don't know me as a person. They know me as whatever they can program in the system. So they program in the system. This person has older loans. This person has these forms in. This person has an income-driven repayment plan. And that's how they know that you exist in their world. So if you don't have these pieces in place, they may be skipping over you. Or if you don't have them in place yet, and you put this information in a month ago, then you're probably in the queue to get your loans forgiven. Moving forward. Qualifying employers, full-time, we talked about 30 hours. Government organizations, all of them are listed. Not-for-profit, 501c3. You also can have your own not-for-profit, nonprofit, but you have to do a couple extra steps. So if you've created a nonprofit and you're running it, that will count. Outsourced school services do not count. Labor unions do not count. Partisan political organizations do not count. And I'm going to stop this so I can show you exactly where you can find this for eligible employers. And this will be in the video when you're looking for it. But you're going to look up your EIN number, and I will look that up really quickly for you. I'm going to use, let's say, Grand Rapids Public Schools. And once you find the Grand Rapids Public Schools, EIN number. And I know you can't see my screen, so just a second. Once I find the EIN number for Grand Rapids Public Schools, I'm going to pop it into this, and I will pull it up in just a second and show you. Now, for public service loan forgiveness, you will see an actual form. And you will, when you fill out the actual form, you're going to turn that into the HR department. A lot of people will say, well, can I turn that into my boss who I like and who I've known, and they will fill it out. I wouldn't recommend that because it is actually the HR's responsibility to verify your employment. And I know someone's going to ask, what if my employer is closed? I'm going to get to that in just one second. So, here we go. I'm going to pull this back up for you. It's going to be a delay, but you will see it in just a second. Okay, so when you are looking for your eligible employers, and I would do this first as one of your first steps. I'm on the studentaid.gov page, determine if my employer is eligible. You're going to put in the EIN number, and I pulled up one. We'll hope it's correct. And you're going to determine if this is your current employer. Let's say this is my current employer. And I've been working with this employer since April of 2009. And I'm currently employed with this employer. Oh. April of 10, how about that? So once I pull that up, I actually pulled up the Grand Rapids Student Advancement Foundation, and it says it's eligible. You're only going to get 3 choices on here. It's either going to say eligible, ineligible, or undetermined. I have faith that the undetermined will be determined at some point. If yours says undetermined, I would still turn the form in. If it says undetermined, I would still turn the form in. So I think that is important. And so one question in the chat, very, very good question. Is this only for teachers? Absolutely not. This is for anyone. I just say I'm in education. I have 2 education degrees, so teaching is my jam. So I tend to be a little teacher-centered. This is for anyone who works for a nonprofit. Anyone. You could be a rocket scientist at Western Michigan University. You can be the president of Western Michigan University. You can be a custodian or sanitation worker at any of our public universities. You can be an engineer. You can be a professor. It is not just for education. You can work for United States Postal Service. So it is not just for education. I think that is very important. And I will use this. As an example. My husband is an elementary principal. He was able to get his loans forgiven under this process. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other aspects, but you can get even newer loans forgiven. Another quick question in the chat. I own a private therapy practice. Does my LLC qualify? Probably not, because it's private practice. If you have a 501c3 certification, it could qualify, but more than likely the LLC does not qualify as it's not a 501c3. But if you have a nonprofit maybe a nonprofit arm, you can check and see if that will qualify. You will have to get some additional paperwork to certify, because obviously you can't certify yourself. You might have a board member certify. But that is a good question about if it's only for teachers. Please hold on. This is not just for educational employees. So please hold on. So now we're going to jump back to the slides. Just one second. We're going to jump back to the slides. Now that we've established that this is not just for education, the other thing I want you to walk away from knowing very confidently that I need you to do, and I've been doing this about 3 years, is consolidating your loans. Consolidating your loans. I can't say this enough. And why do I need to consolidate my loans? Because not all your loans, as I mentioned earlier, are direct loans. Your loans might be failed loans. You want to make sure in this process and in the next process, the IDR waiver, that your oldest loan and your newest loan have the same count. So I'll use my husband's business like I always do as an example. My husband finished Western Michigan University with a bachelor's degree. He finished a master's degree, a specialist degree, and a doctorate degree. He finished his doctorate degree in 2019. When we consolidated his loans, his doctorate degree loans from 2019 went back to his undergrad count. He's been in the same building in his district since 2008. Because of that, his doctorate loans were forgiven. So you got to consolidate your loans. If you don't, what you're going to do is you're going to say, Kia, they forgave half of my loans and they didn't forgive the other half. And I'm going to say, did you consolidate your loans? You're going to say, I didn't consolidate my loans. Those are called hanging loans, and they will hang on there until they get that count. If we had not consolidated my husband's loans from 2019, they would obviously only be 5 years old now. So your loans go back to when your loans are when you obtain them. When you get your loans, that's the count. The other thing for this program and the other program, Parent Plus loans have to be consolidated because they're not considered direct loans. You've got to consolidate Parent Plus loans if you have them and you want them to count. Couple more questions. Let's see if I can answer them. If I am part of the nurse faculty program for my doctorate degree and I'm a professor, can I apply for public service loan forgiveness at the same time? Absolutely, you can. You'll just need to meet the qualifications, but you absolutely can apply. You can do both of these. If you're in education, but you have old loans, if you're in work for the Postal Service and you have old loans, you might get both of the, one of the two. I recommend that you put yourself in a position to get everything you need to get your loans forgiven. Couple more questions, then we'll move a little further down on the slides. I've been getting probably the roundabout for 6 months. My new servicer at Financial claims Mohila is my servicer. It's not, and also claims they don't see my public service paperwork from Department of Ed. However, I see it on the Department of Ed website, and I also received confirmation. I haven't been able to get anyone on the phone. What do you suggest? That's an excellent question. Thank you for putting that in the chat. First of all, I would not call Mohila unless I had to. Mohila is the servicer for public service loan forgiveness, and all of our servicers are backed up right now. What I would suggest, if you have not had movement in 6 months, you can go on to Mohila and look and see what the problem is. But I would suggest, if you can, I would put your forms back in. And if you put forms in for public service loan forgiveness, don't throw them away. Those are your winning lottery tickets. So hold on to them, but I will put your forms back in, and I'd rather them say it's a duplicate as opposed to not getting information. But I was talking to the source before we came on the webinar. 6 months at this point is very light. It's going to probably take about a year. It was taking about 3 to 6 months, but you're probably going to be in about a year wait time if you're putting in your documents. I'm going to move us a little bit further down the slides, and then I'll come back to some more questions. So if you leave with nothing else today, please consolidate your loans. And to consolidate your loans, you're going to go on your studentaid.gov account. It tells you it takes 30 minutes. It takes really about 10. I'm going to show you really quickly what that looks like so that if you need to refer back to this video, you will see what it looks like. But you're going to log into your studentaid.gov account. Everyone should have a studentaid.gov account. If you do not have one or you don't know the passwords, another thing I would suggest that you do is look that up tonight, because studentaid.gov, like Mohila, gets very bogged down, and they will not get back to you for a few days if you do not have an account. But you're going to log in right up here, and create an account is right over here if you don't have one. When you look at your account, it's going to open up with your name on it. And you're going to go to loan repayment at the top. It's going to look very much like this. You're going to go to consolidate loans right here. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what that looks like with this demo. I will tell you though, if you've not filed your taxes, that's going to be a little bump, but all of these things are just little bumps. So if your taxes are not filed from last year, you will have a little bump, but we'll walk you through that. So when you look at the demonstration, it's going to, and you, of course, have logged in. You see up there, it says 30 minutes. You're going to push continue. You're going to verify your information. It's going to have all your information. I would recommend, for the sake of time, you don't need to put the optionals in. I promise you, if you owe the federal government $200,000, they're going to find you whether or not you put your form or name in or your middle initial. So this is going to be your information. You have to click this. That's going to be a delay. That a lot of people miss that clicking. Click that. You don't need your driver's license. You're going to push continue. You're going to put your employment information in. If you're employed, it's a toggle. You're going to put your employment information in and push continue. This is the important piece. It's going to ask you what loans to consolidate. You want to consolidate all the loans that they'll let you consolidate. Why would they not let you consolidate one? If you happen to be in school right now, they may not let you consolidate. But if you can check here, then you can consolidate. You want to ensure that this number right here, the 50,000, is the same as the number at the bottom, the 50,000. And that's how you know. Before you do that, you'll see a toggle right here that I want to consolidate for public service loan forgiveness. If you're doing the IDR, you're still consolidating, but you don't necessarily have to push that. Make sure the top number is the same as the bottom number. And I will tell you, back in the day, you didn't want to consolidate your loans because you see these interest rates, 3.4 versus 5.1, and the interest is going to go up on your one loan. But now this is really the only way to do it so that you make sure to get all your loans forgiven. So you definitely want to consolidate, and then you're going to push continue. Grace period. This is a very important question. It's going to say, do I want to delay processing? You're going to get a list, and the first one says, do not delay processing. You do not want to delay processing. You want this stuff done immediately. Select your loan servicer. They're going to give you loan servicers. If you're applying for public service, you're going to push yes. It's going to automatically pop up MOHELA. If you're not applying for public service, like if you're applying for the IDR waiver, you can stay with NailNet. You can stay with AAdvantage. And then you're going to push continue. This is another important piece, income driven. You have two choices, income driven or standard. You want to be on this side, the left-hand side, the income driven repayment plan. You're going to select that because this is what puts you in the queue. And you're going to push continue. At that point, it's going to pull your tax information. So if you've not filed your taxes, they can't retrieve it. If you're married, you're going to have your spouse's information, but you're going to provide approval. You can confirm your marital status. Yes, I'm married. No, I'm not separated. And I'm going to continue. I have to put in my spouse's information. Yes, I can. Yes, we file jointly, and continue. I'll put in my spouse's information right here. That's all you need for your spouse, and continue. And they're going to tell you whether or not they can find your taxes. Once they pull up your taxes, you push continue. They're going to ask you if your family size has changed. No, it's not. Then they're going to ask you, they secured your information. They're going to ask me about my dependents. And I have 2 dependents, no other dependents. Yours might be a slightly bit different, but this is basically what you're going to see. There's been no change in my taxes. Yes, I have taxable income. Yes, my spouse has taxable income, and continue. So now for me, they would have been able to pull my taxes up. If they can't pull your taxes up, they're going to ask for your W-2s, your pay stub, your employer certification, all of these good things. I would suggest that you do your W-2s or your pay stubs. They're easiest to pull up. You can probably pull that up right now. And your spouse's information, you're going to push continue. It will not ask you to do an estimator if you put your taxes in, but if you have not, it will. Your references, you have to add 2. You probably already have 2 on file. You're going to push continue. Then you're going to get 4 pages of jibber jabber, and the 4 pages of jibber jabber, and this is why it says it takes 30 minutes. This is basically saying you're going to pay your loans back. If you don't pay your loans back, the federal government's going to come get you. After you go through those 4 pages, you are going to submit your application. And so once you go through those 4 pages, that's page 3 and page 4, you're going to check the bottom. I'm sorry, I went too fast, but you're going to check the bottom. You're going to review all of this. It's going to be you double checking, making sure all your loans are in there. Continue. And you're going to provide your electronic signature at the bottom and submit. Once you submit it, you will be able to see on your dashboard, which is going to be on the side, you'll be able to see that your application is submitted and your income-driven repayment plan is submitted also. So both of those need to be submitted. And if you are not sure if your loans are consolidated, please check that tonight. That system gets clogged up And you will find that if you check in the next couple of weeks, you'll say, I can't log on. So I would suggest that you check tonight, make sure your loans are forgiven. So, excuse me, make sure your loans are consolidated so that you're not on at the last minute checking that information. And again, you want to consolidate because you want your oldest loan to get the count of all of your loans, or your Parent Plus loans to get the count of all of your loans. So make sure you do that as soon as possible. Moving us back to the chart, and let's see, I think there's some questions. I'm going to look at the questions really quickly before we move back to the PowerPoint. Let's see what we have. What pathway would be best for someone's mother to apply under the retired teachers, and she also works for a nonprofit after retirement? I would suggest for a retired teacher to apply for public service loan forgiveness, but they may also qualify for the income-driven repayment plan. And I will say this later, but there's actually no application for the income-driven repayment plan, but I would suggest they apply for that. If you are for the public service loan forgiveness waiver now, you have to be currently employed, so that nonprofit that she's at now will help. But prior to the waiver, you didn't have to be currently employed. But I would suggest she do the public service loan forgiveness. Couple more questions. Have a master's from the University of Phoenix, currently in forbearance because the case hasn't been reviewed as a student. I was told I can make payments, but they won't be counted as qualifying because my situation's under review. I'm currently a federal government worker. I have 6 more years before I have my 10 years to be forgiven. Is there anything I can do? I continue to make payments, and I pay through Mohila. Currently, my account says I have 25 qualifying payments. I consolidated years ago, undergrad 97, grad 08. So in this case, from the anonymous attendee, for everyone, you need to keep making your payments. You can request a forbearance, but you do need to keep making your payments. You obviously don't want your loan to go in default, and I will discuss defaulted payments, defaulted loans. I'm putting it on my sheet to discuss that later. But if you finish undergrad in 97, let's say May of 97, your loans went into repayment by December of 97, you would qualify for the income-driven repayment plan waiver. So you might not need to go that route because you're not qualified yet for the public service loan forgiveness route, but you may qualify for the other program. The problem with the other program is not as concrete, and it's kind of a pain, but it does work. I got my loans forgiven that way. So I would suggest that you do what you need for public service, but hold out for the income-driven. So I see another question, but I'm not sure what the question is. You may want to put this one back in the chat. She has a lot of medical bills now, and the loan payments are getting tighter, but she has paid for over 20 years. The only thing I can say for that is make sure you're on a save plan. For people who may be retired, people who might be on a fixed income or a lower income, save plan can be a zero payment, and that zero payment counts towards payments. So I would suggest making sure you're on the save plan. And that's actually the next question. Can you do public service loan forgiveness and save plan at the same time? Absolutely. You can absolutely do public service loan forgiveness and the save plan at the same time. And you can do the save plan with anyone. That was just a plan introduced by President Biden that allows for you to have almost no payment due but qualify as payments. I consolidated a couple of years ago after receiving my master's degree. I recently got approved for IDR. I have worked for public school district for 14 years now. When I look at my count, it only says 7 qualifying payments. Is there anything else I can do? Absolutely. You need to dig in that account, like super dig in that account, and figure out why they're only qualifying you for 7 payments. And this is for anybody who's in public service loan forgiveness. If they're telling you something different than you need to dig in that account. When you go to your mohila.com account, you're going to log in. Midway through, on the left-hand side, it says track my progress. And if you're on the webinar now, you can pull it up while you're on the webinar. It says track my progress. It's going to say how many payments are eligible, how many payments are ineligible, how many payments are qualifying employer. If it says qualifying, they've started to look at your account. If it says qualifying special waiver, That means they've started, but they've not done a lot of work in your account. At the top of your page, it says documents on the blue bar, documents received. And I would show you this on mine, but mine, it doesn't come up on my account anymore. When under documents received, look and see if you have every employer since 2007. So in this person's question, they've worked for the school district for 14 years. If that's not in there as documents received, they don't have it listed, and that may be why. So you have to dig into your account. And don't forget to, I'm pretty sure we're under Facebook. If you put your questions under Facebook, and I will also give you contact information at the end, I can help you walk through it, because I know I'm sending you a whole bunch of information right now, but I can help you walk through it on Facebook or on Messenger. But dig into your account. If you've been with the district for 14 years, I'm pretty sure you probably qualify already, unless your loans were in deferment after 2013, but you would still have the time before 2013. How do I add more direct loan to a pending direct loan consolidation? You're just going to reconsolidate it. Go back in and reconsolidate it, and they will pop up, and you will see that you have your consolidated loans, you have your direct loans, and you can just push them all together. Which one is better, IDR or ICR? I can't really answer that. That's going to depend on what income you have. I say what's better is whatever's the cheapest. That's the Hagens family philosophy. So both of them count, but whatever's the cheapest is probably going to be the best in my mind. Can I apply can you apply if you just retired? If you just retired, the waiver no longer applies for the for the public service loan forgiveness. If you had applied prior to the waiver ending in 2022, you could be separated service. At this point, you cannot be. But I will say this, if your loans are over 20 years old from undergrad or 25 years old from graduate loans, you will be able to apply for you'll be able to receive the waiver. It's no application for the other program. So you will be able to get it from the other program. With filing join with income 100,000, can you still be granted forgiveness? Yes. It does not matter what your income is. For public service loan forgiveness, you can get forgiveness no matter what your income is. And it does not matter if you file jointly. It's not income contingent, nor is the income, while it says income contingent, income-driven repayment plan, that's only based on what you'll pay. It's not based on whether or not you can get forgiveness. So absolutely you can. Is there any difference with the options if you're retired? No, they've not set out a retired plan or any difference. And so all of this will be the same for retirees. If all my loans on IBR, oh, I just lost that one. Sorry, I just lost that one. It'll pop back up. My total and permanent disability discharge application is currently under review. Should I still consolidate? If you are able to do the total and permanent disability discharge, I personally, if it were me, I would still consolidate, because if you do not get that, these programs are still available to you, but the waiver is going to end at the end of the month. So I would say, yes, still do that. And I'm going to go back to the slides in just a second, just answering a few other questions. If you make a decent amount of money, would you still recommend the income-driven repayment plan versus the public service? So for that question, if you qualify for public service loan forgiveness and you qualify for IDR, I would do both. And I haven't talked a lot about the IDR, but basically IDR is if you have old loans. If your loans are over 20 years old as undergrad or over 25 years old as grad loans, or if you consolidated them, they're over 20 years old, then I would do both, because you just don't know when they're going to change the rules of the game. And so, yes, I would do both. And it does not matter what kind of money you make, but I would definitely do both. Couple more. Hi, Sora. Hi, Sora. Lisa. Where on the dashboard can I check to see if I have enough years of qualifying payments on my Mohila account? Log into Mohila. Left-hand side, first page, scroll down. About midway, it's going to say track my progress. When it says track my progress, you're going to click on that. It's a blue, or maybe it says check my progress. It's a blue button. You're going to click on that. It's going to walk you through what qualifying payments you have. Is there any way to consolidate private student loans with federal loans? Thank you for that question. There is not. If you have private loans, there is not a way. What if your servicer isn't MOHELA? Can I petition to move it to MOHELA? Well, that's a good question. For public service loan forgiveness, it automatically goes to MOHELA. But as of May 1st, I believe, and I don't know, once again, I do not have personal insight with Joe Biden. If any of you all know Uncle Joe, please give him my number. But they're shutting MOHELA down. And so between May 1st and July 1, MOHELA is not going to be operational. And then on July 1, they're going to open up something new. I don't know. I do not know what that something new is. I have no idea what that something new is. And so it won't matter at this point. You won't have to petition. With a pending TPD application, will it complicate the process if I select income-driven repayment? TPD. I do not know what TPD is, so you might have to throw that back in the chat to let me know what TPD is. Oh, total and permanent disability. Got it. So with the pending application, will it complicate the process if you select income-driven? No, it should not complicate the process, but I would double check with studentaid.gov if you have a question about that to make sure, but you should be fine for income-driven repayment plan. All right, popping us back to the slides. Back to the slide deck. Before I pass this one, you need to consolidate your loans. You've now heard me say that 1,000 times. You need to consolidate your loans. I've run into a ton of people who come back to me again and they say, I didn't consolidate and I got half my loans forgiven. It's a blessing to get half your loans forgiven, but you want to get all of them forgiven. We're going to move a little faster down this trail because our time is limited. Can you consolidate Parent Plus? Yes. You can have them forgiven by consolidation. And through IDR, you can have them forgiven if you have undergraduate loans and your loans are 20 years old. So yes, you can. And that's all your Parent Plus loans. They have, that you have. It would not be your kids. It would be the loans that you took on for your kids. Here's the steps for public service loan forgiveness. You're going to verify your employer. You're going to complete the form. And I need to pull the form up and show you. You need to make sure to get the form back from the employer. A lot of people say, well, my employer said they turned it in. No, you need to get the form back. It's your winning lottery ticket. If you have MOHELA, you need to upload it to your account. You go to Documents, which is on the blue bar. Upload documents. Scroll down. It says Public Service Loan Forgiveness. You're going to upload it right there, and then you'll be able to see it in your account. If you don't have MOHELA, you're going to fax it in. And then you're going to sit and wait for your windfall. I'm going to show you the application so that you'll know what it looks like. And this is going to be, you'll be able to find it really quickly. The application is right here. It is very easy. It's very easy application. You're going to start with section 1, Social Security number, date of birth, name, address, city, state, zip code, and email. You're going to check right here on section 2. I believe I qualify. You're going to sign and date the bottom. Page 2, you're going to put your name, your Social Security number. While section 4 says that you can fill it out, I wouldn't do that. I would give it to your employer. You don't want to short yourself any months. So you don't want to say you started in October when you really started in end of September. They're going to certify it. They're going to give it back to you. And that's all it is. If you're with MOHELA, you're going to upload it. If you're not with MOHELA, on page 5 of this form is the fax number. There's a fax number right here. You're going to fax it to MOHELA. I would not mail it. Once again, it's your winning lottery ticket. And there's some people on here who are fancy and they can do the electronic version. I'm a kid from the 70s. I was born in the 70s. I don't like the electronic version. You can do that, but you don't know until your employer completes it that they completed it. This way you have something in hand, but you can use that version also. Uploading that to MOHELA account, and then you wait and you'll see the count for MOHELA. That is all for the public service loan forgiveness that you have to do. That is every stitch of what you have to do. Now, moving to IDR because our time is running away from us. The income-driven repayment plan says that if your loans are not paid at the end of 20 years, if they were undergraduate loans, or 25 years as graduate loans, that they were going to pay them off. But a lot of us, like myself, got to the end of that 20 years. They still didn't go away because they said, Kia, we forgot to tell you, you didn't follow this rule, that rule, this rule, that rule. So the waiver originally ended in December, and it's been extended to the end of this month. And what it allows for is 3.6 million borrowers to get extra credit, basically, to have their loans forgiven. You're going to consolidate your loan. Make sure it's a direct loan, parent plus loans, consolidated. Make sure you're on an income-driven repayment plan. That's going to take you 20 minutes of your time, and then you wait for your loan forgiveness. There is absolutely no application that comes in for this. It is a pain because you don't know when your loan forgiveness is going to come in. But what you do know, and we talked about the IDR plan, so that's the IDR plan again. They started notifying borrowers July 14th of 2023. There's no other action that needs to be done. Once they notify you, once you get to this threshold, they're going to say you've either paid 240 or 300 months worth of qualifying payments, and then your loans will be forgiven. Now, remember, qualifying payments is in air quotes because there are people who've not made payments. I did not make all my payments, and I got my loans forgiven. I had $8,000 from my bachelor's and my master's degree. I had $41,000 from law school. I know in law school I did not make any payments on these loans. Because of this, they rolled together, I consolidated them, and I was able to get all $49,000 forgiven. This is the email you're going to receive in your email. If you're not in public service, check your email today. It's going to look like this. It's going to say, hey, Biden-Harris administration, dear Kia. And that's going to be your email that you're looking for. That's how they notify you. You'll notice on this second part, it says you need to let us know whether or not you don't want your loans forgiven. I don't know who wouldn't want their loans forgiven. But in some states, there's taxation. Michigan is not one of those states. So some people don't want their loans forgiven. Some people have beliefs that they feel like they don't want to forgive them. My loans were with Mohila on August 14th. I opened my Mohila account. I had a smiley face. My loans were forgiven. Every single one of them are gone. So look at your email. If you have that, you are already in the hopper to have your loans forgiven. All right. Couple questions in the chat. Let me see if I can take those. Can we consolidate in Mohila or studentaid.gov? Thank you for that question. I would consolidate with you. You can call studentaid. You can call Mohila, but you need to consolidate the student aid. You can do that yourself. Employers, FYI, employers send it directly to Department of Ed Mohila. Employers can send it directly if they're doing the electronic version. I would not have them send your paper version directly to them. I would send it yourself. And the only reason I say that, because stuff will sit on their desk and they'll say they never got it, and there's nothing you can do if your employer doesn't send it. So I would send it myself. Where can you find additional information? On studentaid.gov, you can find additional information. Some questions that we'll go through with our last little bit of time. How long do I have to wait for my loan forgiveness? The time frame has gotten longer, either for public service or for IDR waiver. It's gotten longer. If you've waited about 6 months, you've heard nothing, then you probably need to ask some questions. But when I say nothing, your consolidation didn't go through, your IDR plan didn't go through, those are nothing. But if you're getting documents, if you've been able to establish a Mohila account, then that means there's some movement. What if my employer is closed or refuses to certify my employment? On the form, you can say that your employer is closed, then you have to provide your W-2s. What if I don't keep my W-2s, Kia? You should keep your W-2s. Let's start there. But if you do not have your W-2s, you can request those from the IRS. IRS only keeps them for 10 years. If it's past the 10 years, then you will need to request a Social Security statement. IRS W-2s are free. Social Security statements you will have to pay. I'm not exactly sure how much, but you do have to pay that. Do all deferments and forbearances count as payments? Under the waiver, for all forbearances count, including your COVID forbearance. Deferments before 2013 count. I don't know why, that's just the rule. What if I did not pay anything on my loans during the COVID forbearance? You're fine, as long as you do this stuff under the waiver. What if my loans are paid off? If your loans are paid off, you do not qualify for these programs. But if you have $1 left on your loans, you qualify and you might get a refund. So refunds do come out. if you've paid too much. I'm not seeing a lot of people that I know personally who've gotten refunds, but I have seen a lot of people online who've gotten refunds. What if my loans are through a private company? They do not qualify. How do I know if my loans are federal loans? Studentaid.gov. If they're under studentaid.gov, they're federal loans. Do I need to pay my loans while I'm waiting for forgiveness? Absolutely, you do. But if you are somebody, like in the chat, someone said, I've been there 14 years. If you've been there 14 years, you know that's over the 10 years, substantially over the 10 years. You can ask for a forbearance while they're looking at your loans, and then you won't have to pay. But you do need to either pay or ask for forbearance. What if my loans are in default? If your loans are in default, they do not qualify for these programs, but there is a Fresh Start program that you can apply for that will get your loans out of default in 6 weeks as opposed to 6 months. And while we're on the edge right now where this program is about to end, I am pretty sure something new is coming out. Once again, I don't know. I've not talked to Uncle Joe about that, but something new is going to come out. So if your loans are in default, please go online on studentaid.gov and work that out so that you can be in these numbers. Number 10, heard about refunds. How do I get a refund? Once again, if you've overpaid, you'll get a refund. I've not personally met anyone. I did not get a refund, but I know people do get refunds. If you go back to school after your loans are forgiven, you can apply for the public school service loan forgiveness plan again, but you have to do 10 more years. And I think I answered this one before. Is public service loan forgiveness based on a specific school district or area? No, it's not just for teachers. It's not just for educators. It is not just for school districts. It is nonprofit, not for profit. What happened to the $10,000, $20,000 program that was out? That was the one that someone argued that it was a violation of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court knocked it down. That is why I try to get this message out about these other programs, because while that one went away, other ones still exist. And so please jump on one of these other ones. And is there another loan forgiveness program coming out? I don't know, but Uncle Joe needs to let me know if there is, because this is quite valuable to all of us. And who knows? This last time they extended the waiver, it was about 3 weeks out. So let's listen out for the news this week to see if they extend this waiver. Couple more questions in the chat. I'm at 116 payments out of 120. Should I keep paying until I reach 120 and hope my loans are forgiven? Lord Lewis, I'm going to give you some contact information. I want you to reach out to me. If you're at 116 out of 120, yes, you should keep paying, first of all. Secondly, we need to make sure they did your count correctly. Third, this is for everyone. If you filled out the form, they only know you till you filled out that form. If you've not submitted that form again, you need to submit another one. So Lord Lewis, in just a minute, you'll have the information to contact me. Let's look at that, because you sound like you are sitting at the edge of success. Do I fill out the IDR application and consolidate my loans? There's no IDR application. You just need to consolidate your loans and get an income-driven repayment plan. Last question. If we have additional questions or need help, can we hire you for help? If so, what is your contact information? I am not available to be hired for help, because in spite of this, I have a full-time job. That's very difficult right now, and I'm new at it. So I am not being hired out for help, but I promise you, I'm trying to help everyone get to the finish line. So I'm going to give you my information right here. Let's see. Studentaid.gov has a bunch of information. Contact your loan servicer. I put a lot of posts on Facebook under PSLF, IDR waiver, loan forgiveness. You can contact me on Messenger. I promise you I will contact you back. And ignore that last one because I didn't take that off from another slide. But contact me via Messenger. Some people had a bat phone number. I saw some names on here of people I know asking questions. If you have the bat phone, please reach out to me on the bat phone. I am dedicated. I'm committed to getting everyone to the finish line. But unfortunately, I cannot do one-on-ones anymore because I was doing 3 of those a night, every night. And it got a little bit too much. But reach out to me on Messenger. You got to have a bat phone. Give me a call. Give me a text. I will reach out to you. I promise you I will try my best to get you to the finish line. And I think that's all I have. Oh, one more question. 2 more questions. Well, one more question. I asked the question about the IDR application and consolidate my loan. So how do I decide which one I do? If you're in public service, you need to do both. If you are not in public service, you need to consolidate your loans and get on the IDR plan. That's all you need to do. So it just depends. My answer is it just depends. And that is it. I think that's all I have, Sora Ashley.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Sora Kia Hagens. It has been amazing. You did an amazing job. As you see, we had a wealth of knowledge here and a lot of questions. So again, guys, just like she mentioned, please reach out to her if you have further questions via Messenger on Facebook. That would be great. The Economic Development Committee team will be sending out a survey for all of you guys to take a survey to let us know how well we did today. And then also the Economic Development Committee will have another webinar next weekend, guys. Actually, next Sunday, we'll be talking about home ownership because we know that that's pretty housing as a crisis these days. So if you guys are interested in purchasing a home and kind of need some help navigating that, we will have that webinar next Sunday. But please be on the lookout for our survey to let us know how well we did today and be able to contact our Sora Kia Hagens if you have further questions. So with that being said, oh yes, and then we actually just dropped that link in the chat for that survey. So if you guys could just take a second to please just let us know and give us some feedback, that'd be great. Well, all in all, I want to open up. Did Madam President or Sora Armstead, did you guys have anything you wanted to say before we wrap up?
I just want to say amazing, amazing again. We are so thankful for you coming to the Grand Rapids Alumni Chapter and sharing. And on behalf of Membership Services, we are just elated that you are continuing to be committed to this work. So thank you. And I will pass it over to Madam President.
Amazing job. As you were going through, I was on my student.gov account and my Mohila account, and I saw some things, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm probably done with paying my debt because I only see one employer there, and I was working for 3 public service employers. I will be calling you, Sora.
And Sora, you know you had a bad phone.
You got that right. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So let me tell you all, it works. I was doing my stuff as she was giving out information. I was like, wait a minute. So please, please, please look at your notes. Contact our soror on Messenger. Do your own research. Make sure you are getting your EIN numbers and everything that you need to do because May 1st is fast upon us. Do not sleep. They don't want us to know this information. We got this information. Spread the word. We have to take care of our community. Spread the word. Thank you so much, Sora. I really appreciate you and taking the time, and I appreciate your passion in this work and you spreading your gift and your knowledge to the community for free. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you to the Grand Rapids Alumni Chapter. And please don't forget to pass it on. Don't sit here and have this good information and not pass it on. Now, go through your cell phone and figure out who has loans, and don't be embarrassed, and ask you are your brother and sister's keeper. So make sure to ask them and pass the information along, pass the webinar along, because the deadline is coming and we all could be out of debt and we all could be in Punta Cana together next year this time because we've saved our money. So thank you, Source.